Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about A Promise by Amelia Martain. Um, this one kind of struck my interest when I did the 100 book subscription, where I was telling everybody, drop your links and I'll put it on a randomizer and select 100 books. This one immediately caught my attention and I couldn't stop thinking about it, and my husband and I had actually just finished reading The Book Thief when I posted that video, and so this one immediately caught my attention, and I went ahead and just purchased it. So I took it off of the randomizer because I didn't want it to get selected, because that would take away from somebody else getting selected, obviously. But it wasn't what I expected, first of all. But it's about these three friends, Elizabeth, Hannah, and Adam. And they are living in Germany, and they're coming into their adulthood, their young adulthood. They're just finishing school at the same time that Hitler is rising to power. And they make a promise to each other that no matter what will happen, they will always stick together. And this is actually kind of difficult because they don't realize how difficult that is going to be moving forward. But at the time that they make this promise, they are in different stages of what's going on. So they're in different economic classes. Hannah's family is pretty well off. They're well off enough that when Hannah's grandmother sends her dresses from America, the dresses that Hannah doesn't like, she packs up and gives to Elizabeth. Elizabeth takes those dresses, and the ones she likes, she keeps. The rest, she and her mother work tirelessly to take apart and sew into a blanket. And her brother, Elizabeth's brother, is upset at this, and he's like, she's doing really well for herself. Her family's doing well for herself, and you just gratefully take her scraps that she just cast off. Those were brand new dresses, and you act like you're so grateful for those scraps when we should be doing better. And they're not badly off. The Elizabeth's family is kind of like in the middle, in between Adam and Hannah's family. Hannah's family is doing well. Adam's family is struggling so much that Adam decides that he's going to quit school and go work full time for this widower. Her husband has passed away. She can't run the business herself. Her children are never around. So all she really has is Adam. And so actually I don't think she has any children, if I remember right. But she says her sister and her family are not going to want the store. They're not going to have any need for the business. They're not going to have any need for the money that she is leaving to Adam. And so, like I said, these three are coming into adulthood, and they're going into they're getting ready to go into their last summer, the last summer, but the summer before their last year of school. And that's when they make this promise to each other to always stay together. They're at a picnic and they make a promise to stay together for, always. And at the time, they don't realize how bad things are. World War II has not started yet. The Hitler's war on the Jews has not started yet. So far, everything is just kind of, it's unsure, but the Jews are still being treated as German citizens at this point. So in their minds, in these three kids' minds, they're all in this together. And so they're like, we're just going to stick together. We're going to be best friends. And we're not going to let each other down. And we'll get through this. Unfortunately for them, they don't realize what's coming. And the reason that's an issue is because Elizabeth's father and her brother are both members of the Nazi Party. Hannah and Adam are both Jews. And so the promise to stay together is so incredibly difficult. And on top of that, they're also faced with, and for Hannah it becomes less of an issue, but both Hannah and Elizabeth's fathers are very old-fashioned, that they believe it's their job to choose a husband for their daughters and make sure that they marry properly. And Hannah is upset by this, obviously, and Elizabeth tells her, you don't have anything to worry about because your family loves you, and they will choose someone that they think will do right for you. She says, my father is a terrible person, and I cannot promise that he is going to choose a kind man. He will choose someone who is just like him, who is mean, who is brutal, who is a drunk. And she's like, my life is over, yours is fine. But then there's this twist that happens, of course, because like I said, Hannah is Jewish and Elizabeth is not. And with the war coming up, really and truly the last thing Hannah needs to worry about is finding a husband, because, you know, right now she's just got to figure out how to stay alive. And with Elizabeth, her brother and father are a little bit more preoccupied with the whole Nazi movement, to where they end up kind of getting a little bit distracted, to where Elizabeth does end up getting married, but it's more for a person that she chooses rather than someone that her father may or may not approve of. And so this follows them. It doesn't just follow them through the world. It follows them through the World War of World War II, of course, and the everything that goes down with this. But it doesn't end there, and that's one of the things I really appreciated about the book, is that you get to see years after the war what happens after the war. And what's also interesting is it's not a single point of view type thing. You keep hopping between the 3 point of views. You get Elizabeth talking about, here's what's happening here, and then Adam picks up from there and says, well, this is what's happening from that point, and then there's Hannah, and here's what's happening from where Adam left off, and the three keep kind of leapfrogging each other and tell this full story, and getting their different perspectives of the fears and the trials and the concerns that they have. I thought was really interesting, and I really enjoyed the different perspectives. When it does change, it doesn't feel like the same person telling you, okay, this is me telling you from Elizabeth's point of view, and this is me telling you from Adam's point of view, and this is me telling you from Hannah's point of view. It feels like this is Elizabeth telling you her story, and then when it switches to Adam, the voice there's a shift in the author voice of, this is Adam telling you the story, and then there's a shift again when Hannah is telling the story. And you get to meet these different characters. You get to see, you start off with Frederick being, Frederick is Elizabeth's baby brother, and he's just he's not a baby in the sense that like he can walk and he is talking a little bit. He's basically a toddler at the start of this. So most of his memories of World War II are a blur for him because of his age. Um, but he's not completely unaffected by this, and you get to not only see how Elizabeth and her friends try to keep their promise to stick together, but you also get to meet other characters. You get to see Frederick growing up in this time and space. You get to meet I can't remember his name, Elizabeth's older brother. You get to meet his girlfriend, who Elizabeth absolutely does not like at all. And she has her reasons, and like, she's not a likable character. You know, even when she, every once in a while something comes through and you're like, you want to believe that she's redeemable. But even in her moments of goodness, it's just like you're not quite sure if there's like an ulterior motive or something. But I found Olga to be very unlikable. And then there's Dieter, who is Elizabeth's brother's best friend. And then you've got these other characters that come in and come out, and how they're all kind of coming together and how they're all connected, and how they connect themselves to each other, because some of them, they're not connected right away, but then, you know, times of trial bring people together, can divide people and bring people together, and I love how these characters refuse to be divided despite all the hate and anger and distrust and the all the things that are going on. Everything that causes them to, that should cause them to divide and be divided, fails in its attempt, and they refuse to be divided. They continue to try and stay united and try to find good. And even when things, there's so many times when things look so terribly bleak, and you know, there's nothing. I'm trying to figure out how to say this without giving any spoilers, but like, obviously they're in a war-torn area, and there's going to be there's death, and there's people go missing, like when the Jews are taken to concentration camps. Once they're in those camps, nobody really knows if they stay alive in those camps and what's going on in those camps, because it's so secreted off. And so even with Elizabeth, she knows that these people are being taken to these camps, but she doesn't know what's happening inside those camps, and she can't. And she obviously, she fears for Adam, and she fears for Hannah, and she fears for their families. And the people that go in, it's hard to know how they're doing. Are they okay? Are they being treated well? Have they been killed? Have they died? You know, and Elizabeth and her friends and the other characters, Dieter, because Dieter again is her brother's best friend, and he's not Jewish, so he doesn't have the fear of being locked up like the Jews are, but he's also not on board with the Nazi propaganda. So he's got to keep his head down, because if anybody thinks that he's a Jewish supporter, he's in as much danger as any of the Jews are. And so they basically, it comes down to Elizabeth that she has to pretend to be this stupid, naive girl even her brother, he tells her, he says, politics are a difficult thing. Women aren't meant to understand politics. That's a man's job. You are meant to understand sewing and cleaning and cooking and managing a household. That's all you need to worry about. Don't worry about politics. And so she eventually, realizing her place and how powerful her place actually is, she takes her brother's advice. And she sits at the kitchen table sewing and acting like she has no interest in what her father and her brother are talking about. And she'll listen to everything they're saying. And then she will meet with people in secret, with Dieter and others that are part of the rebellion, to tell them what she's learning from the Nazi Party. And it's interesting what they're willing to do to defy that. Some of them are like Elizabeth, defying their own family, and the things that they're willing to do to keep their promise, to stay together, but also to do right by what they feel is right by their own people, because Dieter and Elizabeth do feel like Adam and Hannah are their people, as much as her father and her brother and Olga are her people. Like, these, in her mind, there is no difference between you and me and this Jew and that Catholic and whatever, because the way she sees them as her neighbors. These are my neighbors. These are my friends. They are as much us as we are them, you know. And I love that. No matter how bad things, like I said, things get bad to where everything is doing everything they can to divide and put a divide between the German and the Jewish people, despite the fact that the Jewish people are German. Like, this is their home. They are not immigrants here, you know. I just got really wrapped up in this story. It was, I wouldn't say it's a fun read. It's definitely not a fun read, but if you like historical fiction, I would definitely recommend it to you. And the author, Amelia Martain, she has a lot of historical fiction books. I'm going to link this one down there, but absolutely look her up. I look forward to seeing more from the author myself. I don't know what else to say necessarily about this book, but like I said, I enjoyed how they didn't lose hope, and that's the thing. Like, I would definitely say that this is a book that's very relevant to what's going on now here in the United States of America, and that if you can take anything from this book that in relation to what's going on here in the United States, is that no matter how bad things are, there's always room for hope. And the best way to one of the best things we can do is to not allow the things that are trying to divide us, to keep dividing us, to instead defy the dividers and stay united in our causes and our beliefs of, you know, of just human kindness and decency, and to ignore the division of hate and, you know, it doesn't matter. Our differences don't matter so much that we should turn away when people are needing help. When people are... I've seen online that there's like a lot of people getting bullied because of one thing or another, because of who they voted for, or because of one guy, I read a post earlier that he said something about his husband, and every time he mentions his husband, he loses another follower. Um, because apparently how he lives his personal life is an credible offense to them. And I think that says more about the person that unfollows him than it does the person that doesn't care that he has a husband. You know, I think there's so many more things that we can unite over than the things that would divide us. Um, and I think I think that's something to cling to, is the things that unite us. The guy in question, he is a writer, and he had a picture of his husband in front of Barnes and Noble, and a lot of people were asking the right question here. What did you buy at Barnes and Noble? Because for them that was what's important, and that was what was uniting them, is we are book lovers. Who cares what this person thinks about your husband? Tell us what you bought. We want to know the books you're reading, you know. And I love that about the book community. And yeah, there's an obvious divide over the whole AI argument. And that's a reasonable argument of, you know, how harmful AI can be, especially to small creators like myself or others who, you know, we put in weeks and months of work for writing. One of the books up here, do I still have it? What? Oh. Oh. No, I don't have it. I gave that to somebody. Anyway, True to My Name is a book that I had. And the girl who wrote the book, Rogue Merlot, pointed out, she says in the about the author part, that it was a story that came to her, and it was like, it came to her so solidly that she was able to write it down in like a couple months. I think it was like a month and a half, something like that. And sometimes it does happen that fast. Sometimes a story comes to you and you just throw it down, and then it's just editing. But it still takes that kind of time, especially when you have a full-time job. You have a family to raise and take care of. You know, I don't have kids, but I do have a husband, and I do have a house. It has to get cleaned. Food has to get cooked, as was seen in a video I recently done for a foul match. There are 10 chickens in the backyard that need to be taken care of. There's a stray cat that needs to be kept happy so that she will hunt my mice and keep them out of the chicken food. I have to go to work. I have a job that I have to do because I still have to make money, because I'm not making money on this channel yet, because I only have like, at this point in time, I only have like 81 subscribers. And I can't monetize until I get 1,000 subscribers. So I'm not making any money off of this, and yet I'm still needing to buy, I'm buying books, and I've got to buy food to feed my family. I've got to pay bills, you know, and I would love for my writing and my YouTube channel to both have enough, make enough money that I could stop working. But that's just not the reality for us. And so when you have people that are like, oh yeah, you can make quick money on by selling books, all you have to do is get ChatGPT to tell the ChatGPT what you want to write, and it'll write the story for you. And I actually had somebody come up to me today, and or not today, but about a week or so ago, and tell me they found out that I wrote stories. And he's like, oh yeah, I wrote a book. And I was like, oh really? What's it about? And he's like, oh well, I just took this I just started pulling up Chat GPT, and I started putting this in and putting this in, and it came up with this really cool story, and I was like, that's not writing a story. You just gave it some ideas, and it popped out a story that it stole from different other authors online, you know. And I think part of the argument that a lot of people would have from that is that, one, the argument for AI that people will have for that was, well, there are no new ideas anyway. Anything you write is probably going to be taking inspiration from this, this, and this, and that's all ChatGPT is doing, is taking inspiration from all these other places. And it's like, no, it's literally stealing word for word pieces from these stories. It's not it's not taking inspiration. It's literally pulling pieces, word for word pieces from different stories that already exist from writers who have put in the time and effort to not only come up with the story, but either write the story from a pants situation, like by the seat of their pants, or who have plotted it out like I do. And I will tell you, for those of you who do not do the plotting it out and outlines, let me tell you an argument for that. Depending on what you're researching, you may or may not end up on a watch list, and having an outline is a great alibi. Just putting it out there. But yeah, I think that's a terrible argument because, like I said, it's not taking inspiration from other stories. It's literally stealing bits and pieces from the story, and not just ideas or thought processes or, okay, but what if, you know, situations. So, yeah, I'm getting kind of off topic, honestly. My stance is AI bad. Okay, I will tell you that. But yeah, A Promise by Amelia Martain. I will link a description. I will put a link to the book in the description down below. And as usual, I will put a link to one of my books down below. If you have a book that, like, I obviously buy a lot of books for this, and they're always self-published authors. If you feel so inclined to send me a book, you're more than welcome to. The address will be in the description as well. But understand that the 100 books that were selected are going to be given the top priority, with the exception of, like I said, there was one, there were two that are no longer in print. There is one that was not published, that was not actually published at the time, which was part of the requirements, and there was a couple that did not, either didn't meet the requirements, or I made the goof myself. But basically, I ended up having to select 5 extra books, and I may still buy more books because, like I said, I bought this one, and but the 100 on the list, except for the 2 that are out of print and the one that is not published yet, will get the priority over anybody else. But any books that I receive will be seriously considered and definitely read. And if I like them, then I will put them on the channel. So that's all for now. I will see you guys next time. Bye.